Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. And as you're making it into the room, if you've never made it on one of our Mentor Mondays, what's always really important to me is to actually engage with you. So your comments, all of those things are great. Here's Diane. She knows the drill. Diane's joining us from Albuquerque. Welcome, Diane. We'd love for you just as you get into the room to say hello, tell us where you're joining us from, what you're excited about today, whatever comments that you have. We love to engage the entire time. And there's Dan who's joining us from Minnesota. Welcome, Dan. Michelle is in the house and she is joining us from North Carolina. Welcome, Michelle. Anybody else, as you're making it into the room, make sure that you say hello to us. And I'm really excited about the new series that we're beginning tonight. So I give everybody just a moment to be able to get in. Samuel's joining us from San Diego. That's my stomping grounds. Welcome, Samuel. Anybody else would love to say hello? Just tell us where you're joining us from, one thing that you're excited about today, that you feel life, that you feel momentum on. Matt's joining us from Pittsburgh. Welcome, Matt. Anybody else that wants to say hello? Nina's joining us from Philadelphia. Welcome, Nina. Awesome, everyone. Well, listen, I appreciate all of you who are making it into the room and saying hello to us. And if you've never joined us on one of these, what we always do is that every week I'm always trying to find ways that I can serve you, that I can help you grow, that I can help you as you're an aspiring coach get to the next level. And a lot of those things are really practical tools and practical ways to remove whatever the gap is, whatever the block is. And honestly, coaches have a lot of those blocks starting out. I was one of those coaches that when I started out my coaching practice, I'd never done business before. I had a 400 credit score because we had lost everything. We lost our house. I was laid off for 6 months, some about a year or so prior to actually launching my coaching practice. And so there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of trepidation. There was a lot of things that were actually in the way, a lot of brokenness, quite frankly, with the way that I thought about myself and believed in myself. And so really everything that we've ever thought about as a school and as I've been a coach trainer all these years has always been, what can we do to make things simpler and also to remove any of the doubts, any of the questions, any of the fears or the barriers. And that's what we always try to do. And also some practical tools of how you can just be really effective in your business. This series is going to be focused on what are the things that are actually in the way, that are actually stopping you from being able to start your coaching practice. And I hear this one really commonly from a lot of new and aspiring coaches. And it's this whole idea of procrastination, where you want something really, really bad. You know that you've wanted this thing for a really long time because you're wired for meaning and purpose. And most of us who are working a previous career before we started a coaching practice were really lured into becoming coaches, not just simply because of the money. And I know the money's great. Not simply because we want to be our own boss. What we really were lured into becoming a coach is that every one of you feel this desire that you know that there's meaning and purpose on this planet for you. And helping somebody get to the next level has been probably something that you've done your entire life. But here's something that you want so bad, but why is there still something that's standing in the way that's actually keeping you from starting? And procrastination is one of those things that you see common, even for coaches who want something so bad, but what's actually behind the scenes, what's actually going on that's keeping you from being able to take the steps forward. What I want to identify are some of the common roots of procrastination, and I want to do that pretty briefly because I'm not trying to give you a therapy session, okay? I'm not doing counseling today. It just helps you identify what are some of the most common roots, and when you hear yours and you're like, oh, that's me, and now I know what to do about it. And so that's what we're really going to try to accomplish. And I want to give you some steps on how you can get breakthrough there really quickly. And then we're going to head out for the night. And I'll take some questions or any Q&A that you have. Let me say hello to some more people who have made their way in the room really quickly. I want to acknowledge everybody. Cheryl, who's joining us from Canada. There's Irma, who's in the room. Izzy, who's here. Welcome. Brenda, who's joining us from Arlington, Virginia. Heda from LA in California. Diane says, I am definitely a procrastinator looking to kick myself into high gear. Thank you so much for being vulnerable, and thanks for being real, because that's always the beginning of change, is really owning it and saying, hey, this is where I live, and I don't want to be there. Denitra joining us from Arizona, Bill, who is joining us from Texas, Pat joining us from Connecticut, and let's see, who else do I need to say hello to? Vanessa, also from San Diego, and Deborah from Toronto, Fran from South Carolina. There's Tremon. Hey, Tremon. And Tremon's joining us from Louisiana. That is my home. If anybody's wondering, if you ever pick up a Southern accent, it's because I am from Louisiana originally. All right, let's jump in. There's 7 major causes of procrastination. Now, let me tell you the first underlying cause of procrastination, because I'm going to identify these 7, but there's one major cause of procrastination. Let's talk about that, because it'll eliminate any kind of mystery about procrastination or any of those things for the future. The primary cause, the underlying cause of procrastination, is going to be pain. We are pain and pleasure people. That at our roots, that's where we operate. In the most primal ways that we operate as human beings, we prefer to be in pleasurable states. I don't know about you. I prefer personally to be in a pleasurable state and not in pain. And here's the interesting thing, and this is something that I always teach our coaches in our Jumpstart program, is that pain is a greater motivator than pleasure is every time. As a matter of fact, some of you want to be coaches so bad, and you want to start your 6-figure coaching practice like tomorrow or whatever. I understand that. The reason why you haven't yet is that it feels painful, that there's some aspect of moving forward that still feels more painful than the pleasure of actually entering into a 6-figure career, a meaningful career, stepping into your destiny. Those are all great things. But see, if you are completely involved in pursuing your pleasure, you wouldn't feel the pain of whatever it's going to take to move forward. It's where, however, you see taking the steps that you need to take as being painful, whatever those painful things are, how you are computing them. Because here's the deal, is that we have neural conditioning. Like, we literally have connections in our brain, and most people are wired more for pain than for pleasure. I don't know if you guys spend the majority of your time feeling really excited, highly motivated, energized, all of those other things. Most people don't. People are more wired for pain than they are for pleasure. And that's a real problem, because there's bad beliefs that are functioning in people and all of those other things. But the reality is that however you're seeing moving forward in your life, whatever it takes to move forward, to start a coaching practice, to step into your destiny, there is something right now with regard to moving forward in that your brain has already conditioned. You've conditioned yourself for years. You've done a great job of associating pain with moving forward in this area, whatever that little trigger is. And we'll talk about what those major causes are, but primarily you're associating pain to whatever it takes to move forward. So you're avoiding pain. It's simply pain avoidance, however you're associating these things. I don't know how many of you have kids. We have 3 daughters. I'm raising 3 powerful women. The oldest one's out of the house. She's in her 20s. For those of you who are baby boomers who haven't figured out how to do that with your kids yet, I'm a Gen Xer. I'm more than happy to tell you how our kid moved out of the house and didn't come back. So anyway, so we have a 20-something, we have a teenager, and then we have another one that's almost hitting 4th grade. All women, all really powerful. The interesting thing is that when we were really struggling financially, we moved into a 700 square foot cottage, and our kids, we had 2 children at the time. They had to pile into 1 bedroom, and it was a problem. Not only do I have a young teenager or whatever she was during that time, and a little kid crammed in the same room, but our teenager was kind of a neat freak. Our youngest at the time was not a neat freak at all. Like, she's the opposite of neat. And so it created a lot of conflict, and it created a lot of tension between them. And it was always trying to get me, they were always trying to get me involved in the thing, and they would succeed at getting their mom involved in it. But here's the deal with regard to my youngest at the time, is that what she saw was cleaning up and organizing herself was extraordinarily painful. So she didn't want to do that. The only time that she would actually clean the room and clean up her stuff, there was only 2 occasions when she would do that. One is when she'd had enough of her sister yelling at her that she would finally do something about it. That means that her pain of hearing her sister exceeded the pain of what it took to do the task of cleaning up, right? Also, she would clean up if she knew she had friends coming over with and she didn't want to be embarrassed. So the pain of embarrassment was greater than the pain of actually cleaning her room. However, she associated it, so she would do that. So in its simplest form, what we have to do is that our pain for not having what we want has to exceed everything else, the life that we are living. The payoff for staying for where you are in the job right now, that really isn't that secure, right? And really, here's the reality is that if you haven't gotten a raise of at least 20% over the last 10 years, you've actually lost money. I don't know if you know this, because of the rate of inflation and the bills and everything else. Unless you've gotten a 20% raise, and you need to do the math, like unless you've got a full 20% raise in the last 10 years in your job, which you probably haven't, you've actually lost money and you are living on less than you ever have up to now in your life. That's painful to me. What was painful for me is not being able to say yes to the dreams and desires of my children. What was painful to me is that I wanted my wife to be a stay-at-home mom because she desired to be home with my kids and I couldn't provide for them. There was all of those things that it was like, that was a high motivation for me to actually move forward. But let's talk about that, because we understand that pain, again, is the primary motivator underlying. But as you guys are looking at it, you're associating pain with one of these 7 major things. One of those is the pain of perfectionism. And perfectionism in and of itself is looking at your life that you've got to have everything. You've got to have all of your I's dotted. You have to have all of your T's crossed. You have to have things just completely perfect before you can start. Well, how many of you know that perfection is absolutely a myth? As a matter of fact, the companies these days that are killing it in the world, if we looked at the Apples, the Microsofts, all of the progressive companies that we can think out there in the world, the Ubers, the Airbnbs, all of these newer companies even, what they have done is that they have brought their product and they've brought their service to as complete as they possibly can. But they know at the end of the year, Apple needs to release a new iPhone. Everybody knows that they have to release their latest technology. And you know what's true? Is that everybody goes out and buys iPhones the day that it's released, even though it's going to have problems. And you know what? They listen to their audience, they listen to their customer base, and they make tweaks after that. But they know that if they're going to sit around in fear and in self-loathing and criticism all the time, they're never going to move forward. What I always tell our coaches is that even if you don't even know what your niche is, you're probably, some of you are only going to be able to, in your heart of hearts, feel 60% certain about anything. That it might be that you only get 60% of the way to perfection. Some of you are that hypercritical that you're just going to have to make a decision that I have to start. Because if you're waiting on perfection, that, you know what, you're probably going to be waiting for the rest of your life, because you're never going to step into perfection. You know what we have to start weighing out? Instead of perfection, what I have to start grabbing a hold of in my life is actual progress. Those are the things that I have to make tangible in my life. And progress has to start counting, not perfectionism, because it's completely a myth. And the desire of perfectionism is to keep you exactly where you're at and to never allow you to move forward. Here's the second thing. Second major cause of procrastination is what I call SOS. And that's shiny object syndrome. It's for some of you who want to start something new, and you start with all this passion. And you're like, yeah, I'm ready to start this thing. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And then 90 days later, and now I'm going to start this thing. Now I'm all passionate about this thing. My wife and I were just laughing about someone that we know that keeps doing that about particular things around career and some of those other things, that it's like, have they actually taken an informed approach towards their life? Have they actually committed not just a month, not just 2 months, not just 3 months, but actually went all in and said, you know what, regardless of anything that happens, I'm going to actually commit towards this thing for an extended period of time rather than just getting distracted by everything that happens. If some of you are finding that some of these things are hitting you, go ahead and share that in the comments, or maybe you share what your particular area that you've identified as your area of procrastination. Fear of failure, which is a really, really big one. And I'm going to tell you guys what I told my teenage daughter when she was in high school. She used to do this thing, and here's the thing, thank God she's a completely different person now, because you would not believe the kinds of things that she's doing, how she's traveled the world and she has no debt. And she's done all kinds of crazy things that my wife and I never thought that she would do, jumping out of airplanes, all this, because there was this fear that was kind of running her life for a really long time. And I remember when she was in high school and she wanted to try out for the basketball team, and she brought me out. She wanted me to take her out to a local playground because I played basketball in high school. And she wanted me to teach her how to play basketball. And what she would do was, well, I don't want to go out for the team until I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, you go on the team and that's where you learn how to do. Like, I'm not a coach, like I know how to play, but that's actually where you're going to learn when you're with your peers and everything else. But there was such a fear of failure in her mind about it. And I just told her, I was like, listen, you can manage your life. I'm speaking to all of you right now. You can manage your life to stay in the comfort zone and to never have to deal with failure. But it's going to be a completely unsatisfying life. Whenever you are ruled by fear, fear is never a positive motivator in anyone's life. Now, I know some people try to preach that fear is a great thing. Fear is a terrible motivator. I want to have my life ruled by faith more than fear anytime, because fear is an expectation in many cases of things going wrong. I want to live in hope and faith that there's going to be good that's actually moving towards my life. And so what we have to understand is that I'm more afraid of living a life of insignificance than I am possibly failing at going after something that's truly amazing. Here's the next thing. The next thing is overwhelm, that you look at the entire situation and you're looking at, oh, I've got to start a business. I've got to meet people. I've got to learn this thing. I've got to learn skills, all of this other stuff. And the more that you talk about it, the more the anxiety actually starts taking over in your life. And you're like, I don't even feel like I can move because I'm so overwhelmed of everything that needs to be done. And you're thinking about the things that you don't know, should know, may not be able to learn. When can I learn? When can I start? All of those things. Here's the next one. The next one is lack of motivation. Now, I hear this one a lot. Like, I'm just not motivated. I think of my daughter. I'm just not motivated to clean my room, right? Well, here's the thing, is that motivation is actually very easy thing to fix. And when I show you the steps in just a second, it's actually very easy to fix motivation if you're a person who's struggling with motivation. Now, some of you might actually physically be tired, and it means that you probably need to enter into some rest at the middle and in the middle of everything that you've got going on. But motivation a lot of times is stolen, and there's actually 3 reasons why motivation can be stolen. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. A lot of you are overwhelmed and you're not starting because it feels like I'm just starting from scratch. And you know what starting from scratch feels like? Starting from scratch feels like inertia. I can't move forward. And it's true that when a car is not moving, it's in park, that there's nothing you can do. But when you put it in neutral and you start pushing a car, all of a sudden, when momentum starts to happen, you know what the car does is that it actually starts at a certain point. It takes less of your own force and less of your own energy once you actually start taking a step. That's the incredible thing. But I know what it feels like when you don't have anything to show for anything in your life. You're like, starting from scratch is a killer. It's hard. And here's the last one that I want to share. The last one's just simply self-doubt. Your own questions about yourself, your own questions about whether you've got it, whether you measure up, all of those things. Would anybody actually want to pay you for this? All of those other things start creeping in and keep you stuck because the worst thing about self-doubt, that fear of, hey, if I really can't pull this off, or if I get rejected by people, I understand how that can actually keep you stuck and it keeps you from starting. But enough about the problem. Let's talk about quick fixes. Now, you know why I'm saying quick fixes? Because I'm not trying to go to the deepest part of you, because I don't think that you're a broken person. I don't think that you are hurt. I don't think that you need healing. I don't think any of those kinds of things. Reality is that right now we have associated with getting started as a coach as a painful kind of thing. And it's anything but that. As a matter of fact, what I usually will tell coaches is that starting a coaching practice, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs as a coach. Starting a coaching practice is about the easiest business that you can actually get started. And it almost costs you nothing to get started. You instantly start making money. So there's nothing hard as far as that stuff is concerned. And I don't think that you are a broken individual if you're procrastinating. What we have to do is that we have to correct how we're seeing getting started. And that means that we've got to have a course correction in the way that we see things and the way that we believe about getting started. Like right now, it needs to be a moral issue in your life. Like it's got to be a moral imperative in your life that it is not okay for you to not be living into your destiny, to be using your talents and abilities. It is not okay for you to be languishing in a job that you are completely disengaged, not motivated, not passionate about, because I know all of those numbers. About 75% of your day is not tapping into your creativity. It's not tapping into your passion. If you've ever in the past 6 months of your life looked at the clock and wondered when the day was going to be over with, you have to start taking ownership for your one life. I can't take ownership for you in that. When I became a coach, there was never a time I looked at a clock ever again, except to say, where's the day gone? Because it's flying by. This is not okay. That should be painful for you. I hope that if nothing else, when you go back to that job and you're waiting and you're looking for when is lunch going to come around for you to eat, I hope that this haunts you right now in this moment, that it is actually destiny that's calling out and it's saying, what are you actually living for? You're not living for lunch. You're supposed to be living for the passion that was wired in you of why you were created and why you live on this planet. There's breath in your lungs for a reason. Mercy woke you up again to give you another shot to going after the life that you were actually made to live. So let me give you the quick fixes, because I don't think that we have to have hard fixes to fix this thing. Here's the first thing. Number one, get a plan. What do I mean by get a plan? Well, you know what? You're going to feel overwhelmed and you're going to feel an inertia in your life if you don't actually know what your steps are. So what have we done as a school? We've actually developed a plan for coaches, because I was one of those coaches that was terrified of getting started. I know what that feels like. Well, I've actually thought through what was the thing that actually led me out of the inertia and the procrastination and the fear to actually get started. Well, we did that for doing all of our training online and making it simple and taking all of those objections of like, this is expensive. I don't think that I can do this. We did everything that we possibly could. And we actually created a business development program. So you never have to come up with your own plan. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel on this thing. And whether you choose our plan or somebody else's, that you need to actually get a plan, because the plan, just having a plan, will get rid of so much overwhelm, and it will get rid of so much self-doubt, because you'll know what your steps are. Here's the second thing, is that you've got to set a clear goal. Like for some of you, having a business, getting clients and all of this other stuff is really abstract. And right now it's in dream form. And you can't just dream about one day I hope I do better. One day I hope I have a side gig that balances out our finances where we're not making it or whatever. Like you need to have a goal that's tangible. The goal itself, one of the things that goals do is that they create a vision. Goals automatically create a motivation in and of itself, because you can see the end and you know what you're after. And you know what ends up happening is that it actually gives you tunnel vision towards something, because now you've set your heart towards it. And you know what? All this, the shiny stuff and everything else, all the other distractions actually get eliminated, because now you're focused towards something. You've got to not make this abstract. You need to actually, if you have children, look at your children and think about what you want for their life. Think about the freedom that you get in starting your own business. For those of you who are interested in this, the average coach in the United States is making $60,000 a year, only working about 10 hours a week. That's not bad money. That you're only working 40 hours in an entire month and you're pulling in $60,000 in a year. Imagine if you work double that. You're working 20 hours a week and you're making $120,000. This is the average first-year coach that's doing this kind of stuff. So having that kind of a picture and knowing where you can hold your hat, hang your hat, is incredibly important. Here's the next thing, is that you've got to set a start date. You know how you end procrastination and you stop it in its tracks? You say, today I'm going to get started. You actually look at your schedule and you're saying, July 15th, I'm getting started. July 23rd, we have a live online coaching boot camp. Takes all the excuses away from everybody. You can start on a Friday, and wake up certified as a coach on Monday. That's that easy to say, I'm going to determine that on this date I start. See, because procrastinators don't want to make any kind of commitments, but you know what? A start date actually creates a commitment. It actually draws a line in the sand, and they say on this date it stops. And it begins for you in that moment. Here's the fourth thing, is that you've got to get some support. I know what it's like to start something and you live in your own world about it. And I would say that most people don't have the capacity to stay accountable to themselves. Some people do, but you need to find some people. One of the things I always tell people is if you set a goal, tell 3 people about it and challenge them at least on a weekly basis to say, hey, how are you working on your goal? How are you coming on that? What steps are you taking? Like, actually find people in your life to do that. In our Jumpstart program, we actually have an online community so that you actually, through a boot camp, because in Jumpstart, you get boot camp for free. And so what our students a lot of times will do, we'll exchange information and they'll role play with one another. You get feedback from us, but you also get feedback from other students. And having that, like, people who want to see you succeed and want to see you thrive, that kind of a supportive environment is critical, and it's really crucial. At the very least, you need to find people in your life that are incredibly positive, that aren't reminding you of your past, that aren't reminding you of all the times that you started and stopped, that you actually have a relationship of accountability. And find some people as well who can help you and help you in saying yes towards this dream. You know, when I had no one, I had to get my wife to read my marketing stuff, to read the stuff that I was working on, to look at my website, to tell me what was good, what was bad, to show her videos of me speaking when she couldn't be around, to allow her to come. And that's one of the ways that you really pull the layers back, when your wife is in the room and she knows all of your stuff. She knows you're good and you're bad, and you're up there telling people and challenging them towards something. And then after the thing's over with, to say, hey, was I authentic enough? Was I real enough? Did I have integrity? Was I good? Did I talk too long? No, Paul, you talked too fast, or whatever. Having that person who I know is on my side was incredibly critical. Here's number 5. Number 5 is this, is to get some feedback. And when I say get some feedback, is that having someone who, when I said the motivators, and I said that there were 3 things that kill your motivation. Here's what kills your motivation. When you don't think that you're making progress, kills your motivation. When you don't have a clear goal, kills your motivation. When the thing that you are after is not connected to something bigger than yourself, when you don't have a mission associated with your vocation and what you're trying to do, all 3 of those things kill your motivation. Also, I'll give you a 4th thing. When you don't have control in your life and you're working for somebody else's dream, kills your motivation. You need to have autonomy in your life to stay motivated. And so what happens is that when you're getting feedback from someone, they can tell you when you're doing good. They can tell you, hey, I can see how far you've come with this kind of thing. Being in relationships with people who can give you feedback, like we can offer that to you as a school. That's what we do. But I want you to know that, you know, having somebody that their words actually matter and they actually believe in you, giving you feedback where they can say, hey, I can see where you started, but I can see the progress that's happening in your life. Those are key motivators. Being able to connect what you're doing in your life to your ultimate purpose and the reason why you were born on the planet is incredibly important. Having freedom to actually make decisions about your life are incredible things that you need in your life to stay motivated. Here's number 6, set a deadline. We have a start date, we have an end date. The deadline is going to keep you guys who are the perfectionists from being perfectionists. You've got to start by this day. We launch on this day. I start on this day, I launch on this day. For any of you who are in school and you're a big procrastinator like I was, like I got it, my undergrad was in English. So you know what that meant? We were reading books all the time and we were writing papers. And you know when I started reading the book, it wasn't the day that I got it. I usually got the book the day before it was due, and I read the thing and wrote a paper all night and did a crash session and drank a bunch of coffee. And I told myself I would never do this to myself again, but I did it every time. But you know, the only thing that saved me from failure was having a deadline. So a deadline to start and a deadline to end. That's what some of you need to do today. It's right now, what is it? July 12th is to say September 12th. You know what? It's very effective to say right now, July, August, September. That it is very easy and very reasonable to start a coaching practice in 90 days and start making money. To say that if you start today, the momentum actually increases and that by September, you can actually determine where you want to be. But it takes you creating a start date, but also a deadline. And having said all that, let me pay the bills really quick. And I want to look at some of the comments that we have in here. I thought I had one more thing, but apparently that's all of the things that you need to get out of procrastination. Let me tell you guys about what's coming up. We started a live online coaching boot camp last year during COVID, and we saw a lot of people's lives change. And the coolest thing about it is that we had some people who really wanted the feedback. They wanted live coaching demos. They wanted more training. They wanted to connect with other students. And we didn't realize that was a felt need for so many years in our school because we've always had an online on-demand program. Well, last year was our biggest year ever. We grew by 30% as a school. We're actually the largest life coach training program in North America before last year. And last year we just exploded in growth. And we're keeping the live online coaching boot camp, and we've been doing this for a little over a year now. Now, what happens is that you start on a Friday, and by Sunday night, you complete your certification because you'll have all the training that you need to take the exam. These are some of the topics that we're covering, and this isn't exhaustive, but what is coaching? The 4 lenses of a first-class coach, the steps of a coaching session, building a coaching framework that gets results, focused, effective coaching that cuts out the fluff, how to help your clients maintain motivation. 2 models of coaching we give you. Core skills and characteristics for breakthrough coaching. The best practices for ethical coaching. How to ask powerful questions. How to build coaching relationships that last. Talk a lot about client retention. What to include in coaching agreements. And a lot more. It is live. So we start on a Friday night at 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we start on a Friday night with 1 session. We do 3 sessions on Saturday. We do 3 sessions on Sunday. By the 3rd session on Saturday, we're already role playing, and you'll watch, and you can also volunteer to actually role play, and you get instant feedback, and everybody gets to experience that during that time. By the time Sunday night rolls around, people are doing more role playing, and you're seeing, and you've got a lot of tools because we actually give you tools. We actually give you a coaching starter kit throughout the weekend and a lot of exercises to help you put these things into practice. And every session has a live Q&A at the end. We also give you the life coach certification course as a part of the weekend. We also give you a free listing on lifecoachmatch.com. That's $75 a year. Yes, you do get certified, so you get your certificate and all of those other things that we offer in that. The cost is only $247 for all of that we do, which is incredibly reasonable. But let me say this for those of you who tonight was really helpful for you. I want you to know that we have a Jumpstart program, and I'm not trying to throw too many things at you, but we do have a Jumpstart program that's $97 a month. Now, I want you to sit around and do the math really quickly in your head. because our life coach certification course just in and of itself is $195 if you were to do that. If you were to do boot camp, it's $247, right? Jumpstart's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. That's only $291 for 3 months, and you only come out of pocket the first $97. Let me show you everything that you get in Jumpstart. Jumpstart, you get your life coach training, you get life coach certification, you get your credential social media integration tool for your certificate to integrate it into LinkedIn, your website, all of those things. You also get the live online weekend boot camp. So you will get boot camp that's coming up this weekend, in 2 weeks. You will get that included. You're going to have coaching role playing, because one of the things that we do inside of Jumpstart is that in the ongoing basis, you're in the group with a lot of other aspiring coaches, and you can set up role plays with one another. And we have an instant feedback tool that allows you to get great qualified feedback based on core competencies. But what else do we actually offer? Well, we also offer brand camp. So it's about a 10-hour training completely on branding. So everything from how do you develop your brand, marketing, messaging, we walk you through all of the steps. We show you how to write emails. We show you how to write sales pages. We also show you all of the basics of building a website, search engine optimization. All of those things are actually included in brand camp. That alone, that marketing that we give you there is worth thousands, and it's 10 hours worth of training that's involved there. But that's not all that you're getting. You get monthly specialty workshops, the Jumpstart program that's over 30 videos of how-tos of how to build a coaching practice that is a 6-figure coaching practice. Our online community, every Wednesday, I go live with our students who are in Jumpstart. I do ongoing training, but I also, if anybody gives me any of the things that they're working on, their website, we give feedback on all of those things. That is a live call, and you have about 3 years of archive calls that you have. You also get 90 days of the boot camp that you have accessible. If you enrolled today, you automatically have all of the boot camp replays for the last year. You get brand camp, all of these things, life coach certification, everything for only $97 a month. It's completely a steal. I know it's a complete steal because I see what other people are charging, and they give you a fraction of these things. Most schools do not teach you how to build a business, and I'm very proud of the fact that I will give you more value than you will ever come close to paying for. I'm very proud of that. And what I can do in all of this is to take every objection away from you of where you're afraid and you have self-doubt, or you don't know how to get started, you don't have the money. All of that is out of the way. That's literally $3.25 a day, which is the cost of Starbucks. It's absolutely ridiculous. I know it. And it's an invitation to start today. Start your deadline. Your deadline to start is today if you want to start a coaching practice by fall. Fall is actually the number one time to get clients. Number 2 is January. But September, everybody's back to school. Everybody's back in their normal grind, and they're really aggressively ready to get action and get traction in their life. There's always clients to find, but September is a huge month, and it's a great month to start. All right, I'm going to shut up and see if Robin says, where do I get the credential integration from? Actually, if you grab your certificate, we actually host your credential online so that you can actually pull it into LinkedIn or into your website or into any of your social media. So if you go into your student dashboard and go under account and look for certificates, there's actually a link there that you to your certificate that you can go public with and pull it into those tools. Let's see, what's this question? Rebecca said, so this program gives you an outline or base template for starting your own 90-day coaching program. What we say is that when I say 90 days, I'm saying that you can begin and actually be launched in 90 days. So what we do is we give you an A to Z business development roadmap. If you go through all of those steps throughout, there's no reason why you can't launch a coaching practice in 90 days. So we're not telling you how to create a 90-day coaching program. Or actually and if that's the way you're understanding it, we're showing you how from A to Z, if you didn't know anything that you were doing, how to actually begin. And this is for traditional coaches. It's for online coaches, but it's also for hybrid coaches, because some of you will be traditional coaches, but you'll also have some online clients. It works and fits for everybody. And it's not a salesy thing that we do. I show you how to build your coaching practice around you authentically, not around who Paul is or how I would do things, but we give you a lot of tools and you'll be able to actually create your strategy based on all the tools that we give you. Michelle says, excellent decision I've made was boot camp. Thank you for that. Jose said, is this great for beginners or no prior experience? Absolutely. So if you've never done anything, it's great. If you are a veteran coach, here's what I can tell you about veteran coaches. Maybe they don't need help in the training part of things, but I've worked with a lot of coaches that have went to other schools and spent thousands of dollars to get certified who were never able to get a client. And then they came over to our Jumpstart program for only $97 a month, and they know how to get clients now. So really, we don't want to say that there's something for everybody in that, but a beginner can start from scratch and feel completely comfortable and not overwhelmed. Let's see what other things in here. Marcia says, this is very great assistance for me who've been trying to get rid of this procrastination. How can I get the life coach training plan? Just if you click inside of the description, it'll actually bring you over to, I think it'll actually, the link is in the description, can bring you right to the Jumpstart program, and you can see more details than what I even shared during that. Let's see. Bart says, okay, take my money. I know Bart personally, and he's a longtime friend of mine, and he was actually in town with us not too long ago. But Bart, you know that I'm the real deal, right? Okay. Okay, awesome. Let's see. What other questions? Bill says, boot camp is exceptional. Digging deep to find golden nuggets. Thank you so much for that. Diane says, that's what I need, a start and an end date, better than a vision board. Well, a vision board is really good with regard to your goals and getting really clear on things. So I'm not against vision boards because they have a role to play, but you actually do have to have a start date and an end date because that'll absolutely create the motivation. Dan says, hopefully the support and feedback people will also hold you accountable to the goals I've set. If it's just up to me and the going gets tough, I have no problem pushing back the deadline. Absolutely. And here's the thing, is our deadlines set in stone? Well, they're not, but you know what a deadline does? And what I would say, not only a deadline, but having milestones along the way, is that you're able to track progress, first of all, and it keeps you encouraged because you're moving forward and you're seeing the progress. Second thing about those milestones is that, you know what, if something becomes unreasonable, I can change the date, but it's also telling me about my time management, about my priorities. So it gives me some feedback as I'm going along, because that's what I'd say, set some milestones. And if you're not reaching them, then am I being too aggressive with the goal that I set, or do I need to make some more decisions about how I'm moving forward with my time and some of those other things? So good feedback on that. Let's see. Tremont said, it's good to start with a mission statement. I love that. Absolutely. Knowing what's most important to you is incredibly key and helpful. Let's see. Who else do I want to say hello to? I appreciate all of you who have been, who's this? Lindsay joining us from Little Rock. Welcome, Lindsay. Definitely want to say hello to everyone who has said hello to me that I have not gotten to. Rebecca says, does the Jumpstart program include everything you offer? I just signed up for the free classes, but if it's all included in Jumpstart, sounds like the way to go. It really is. Like, it saves you a ton of money, and as a school, we definitely make less money if people choose Jumpstart, but we want to here's the thing about us as a school. The average school does not teach you anything to do with business. And I know that because I spent thousands of dollars getting trained and certified in various places. And the marketing that I got was very poor, because one of the things that is also true about most of the coaching programs that are out there is that you can get trained and certified by a coach who has not been successful as a coach. They allow people with the lowest level of training to train and certify other coaches. Now, I'm not saying that you can't teach people. What I am saying is that when it comes to business development and the things that can make you really successful, is that you want to learn from somebody who's actually been really successful on the business side of things. There's a lot of people flaunting credentials that haven't been really successful at running a practice. And what we wanted to be able to do is I want to compel you to get the business development help. That's why we want to make it really affordable. It's not so much about us making the money. It's when you look at the programs, I want to take every excuse out of the way because we want to see coaches with thriving practices. Our forward mission statement at Life Coach Training Institute is proficient coaches, thriving practices. I don't know of any other school who makes that as part of their actual short mission statement and their slogan, but that's what we're about. We don't want you just getting trained and certified like what happened to me. And they waved at me from the door and I've got a nice certificate in my hand. But then I had to go figure out what I need to do to deal with my self-doubt and all of those other things to get started. And I will say that our Jumpstart program focuses heavily on the business side because coaching is about 10% coaching skills. It's 90% business. We want to see you thrive. It's not the hardest job. It's not the hardest business to get started. But if you've never gotten a client before, if you've never started a business before, we want to give you all the tools and we want to give you no excuses for not getting the help. There's a shortcut way to get certified, but and that's fine. But we really want to make it possible for everybody to thrive, and we really believe that it can absolutely happen. Awesome. Let's see. What are the other questions? Michelle says, with this school, the learning is ongoing, which is what I appreciate the most. The evidence is clear and rewarding. Thank you so much for that, Michelle. And I really appreciate Michelle vouching for us in that because Michelle's got an incredible history. Not to give a bunch of information about Michelle, but I know Michelle's got an incredible tenured career in really helping people in a very specific profession. And that really means a lot to me. So thank you so much. Let's see. Was there any other question that we are missing in here? Let's see. Cool. Awesome. All right. I don't see any other questions, but listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Do me a huge favor, like this post, share it if it was really helpful for you. And as always, it means a lot to me that you spent an entire hour with me. So listen, have a great rest of your week. Go ahead and go ahead and like this post, share it, get it to people who could actually really benefit from it. Also click that link inside of the description and it will get you over to the Jumpstart program and all of our programs if you're interested in getting started. Listen, I appreciate you guys immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.